peace and love. Salam alaikum again, and welcome to this final panel, I understand, the music industry forward. My name is Big Huss, and I'm going to be really, really honored to go through this. It's been a dream of mine, man. I've been dying to really do this, and it's going to be really incredible. The music industry forward. So just quickly, you guys, I want to just go over what you guys do and how incredible of people you are. So start, Elia Mssawir, Big Beards Entertainment. Make some noise for the brother right here. I know we're loaded, brother. Let's go. Elia Mssawir, just quickly tell us in one sentence, Big Beards, and what do you do?
Big Beards Entertainment is an artist management company based in Dubai, operating in the region, and tries to push artists from this region to play, abroad scenes.
And we salute you for that.
Yeah.
All right, Lobito, Brigante, DJ Lobito. I remember the first time I said your name was emceeing, I said Lobito, and he's like, yeah, it's Lobito. But yeah, I'm saying it right now. DJ at Turntable Academy, big up to you in one sentence again. Tell us what you do.
I'm a DJ, I would say a cultural disruptor whenever I'm able to, and an educator.
Love that. Drop the mic right there. Saeed from the National, thank you to everything that you do, arts and culture, and thank you for writing the way you do. Yeah, if you want to add anything, you're one of our heroes for sure.
No, thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. I work for the national newspaper in Abu Dhabi. I primarily look after the music section, and we basically cover, the interesting things that are happening, not both only in the UAE, but also across Middle East and North Africa.
Keep those style of interviews coming, bro. Big fan. Okay, DJ Brooklyn, host of DJ Brooklyn's Day Out, and overall an incredible personality, someone who's very, very talented, proud of him always.
Thank you.
Brooklyn, tell us if you want to add to that. But you are a kick-ass personality. I love you, man.
Appreciate that. Just a DJ, a student of the game, just trying to get by, understanding it more, building it more if I'm able to, and that's it.
Let's go. Albert Carter, my man, Emirates Music Summit. Overall, I know you for like 12 years online, and now we met. Big up to the work that you're doing, man. Again,
thank you.
I think you deserve a big round of applause, him and the rest of the team as well.
Team effort, teamwork make the dream work, man, including the guys on the panel and yourself as well.
Amazing. Okay, let's get straight into it. I don't want to have this discussion. We have like 45 minutes plus, and again, feel free to answer anything, any question I kind of give you, even if it's provocative, because I want to ask some provocative questions. Let's get into it. When we say music industry, would you say we have an industry when it comes to local and alternative scene? By that, this topic has been risen here in terms of we have our Khaliji pop artists that are there, the
Right.
Balqises, the Hussein al-Jismis. These guys have an industry. I'm talking about the local and regional kind of, is there an industry?
I think it is an industry. It definitely has room to grow. The industry over here is not your traditional sense of an industry. It's more around branding, but it is an industry. Now, the thing is, we have to learn to expand that industry, and that's where we're finding difficulties at. But the expansion of the industry is where what the future holds.
Again, what's interesting about this panel is diverse. Brooklyn, would you agree with that, or would you want to add to that?
It's definitely diverse. It's just that the problem, it's not a problem, it's just finding a way to go about it. If you looked at the industry here in the beginning, it's a copy of and paste of what's going on in the world, primarily the US. But unfortunately, the part where they copied and pasted was in the middle. So they went in the middle, copy paste that middle, and then this is the industry. And knowing that, it goes wrong. It goes wrong in so many ways, and you'll find so many loopholes. Again, I was having this conversation with one of my friends, and I told him, it's like someone that converts religion. It's like you converting religions, right? When you convert to another religion, you don't come in the middle and say, hey, I'm going to take this part only and run away with it. No, understand the foundation of this religion before claiming it. And when that happens, you'll get a lot of miscommunication happening. You'll get a lot of misunderstanding happening. You'll get a vivid image of what the real thing is. And that's what the situation is in the current in the industry currently, in my opinion.
I'm not going to actually start with negative comments on this, but 15 years ago, I think UAE had a very strong industry here. Everybody was supporting everybody, the private sector, I mean, the public sector used to support a lot of local stuff. Also, corporate companies used to support a lot of local talents. A lot of things happened in the UAE and the region the past 15 years. And let's talk about 10 years from now. Like, I mean, from 2010 till now, a lot of things changed that made the industry very small and very locked down, kind of thing. But I think 2020 onward is gonna change the whole face of the music industry.
And we'll definitely talk about that. Saeed, Lobito as well, I want to get you. Saeed, you cover a lot. You cover a lot, and I'm still asking the same question. You cover a lot from that international, scene and also local scene.
I mean, look, talking about the question, is there a scene? I mean, I've been doing this job for 8 years, and really what I'm realizing, the first 3 years, I did nothing. In the sense that, I had to first find out what the scene is. I think the big problem that we have is sometimes, we assume that the scene should be the same everywhere. So for me, the first 3 years of my job, I was just basically observing. And just finding out, the contours of the scene, and before that I was in Melbourne. So whatever I learned in Melbourne didn't even apply. I was covering the scene in Melbourne, so whatever I know just didn't make sense here. So because over here, branding plays a big part, corporations play a big part, tourism, there's all these extra flavors that I've never even considered in Melbourne, so I think once I think even as an artist, once you kind of understand, the major players that are involved, in the scene, you can then begin to kind of, address it or begin to navigate it. Because the biggest problem is people come from overseas or whatever, and they think, whatever worked in the UK, Australia works. No. You need to first take your time and find out what's happening here, and then navigate it in the best way that you know how.
Wow. Yeah, Saeed. Lobito, you've been here obviously for quite some time, and you've seen the evolution. If there's any, what do you think about what we're talking about?
So I think, I've always tried to operate outside of what I would say is the industry, just generally. I've been more focused on trying to build my own platforms and lanes, because when I came, there really wasn't, I didn't find any, after sending my stuff to a lot of different people, I didn't really get much of a response. So it made me realize that, maybe I need to create something. Instead of just relying on what was existing. And I think that process of then creating, connecting with the community, finding out what's going on, creating platforms, being able to connect other people, which yourself and so many other people here do so well. I mean, this is what this event is all about. This is what creates opportunity. So I always look at the opportunity. I wouldn't like to pass judgment on the industry, because I think it's a very small country. Just generally, I think it has huge potential, and it's a young country, and we've seen so much development generally as a country. So, I think it's just going to keep growing and growing. So I'm focused more on what can we do to push things forward.
Yeah, please.
I think none of us here on the panel, because each one of us has started a platform, so I think we're all believers of the industry and the scene. So if we don't believe, I don't think we'll be here. Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's actually perfect. This was my next question. And again, I don't want to be provocative in terms of that, but I think sometimes you need to push some things, and you got to be a little bit, not rude, but just, I personally been hearing this, that it's going to grow and grow and grow. Even, I come from Saudi Arabia, and again, we've been doing it in Saudi Arabia, and now we're pushed. Now, the question is, one of the main questions I really want to talk about is the gap, because you're right, all of you guys, there's no right or wrong, but all of you guys had a really, really strong point. There is definitely a scene, but the thing is, are the artists and the local artists over here, the artists are doing it, are they really relevant? Are they doing music that is actually relating to the people? Because don't tell me that Balqis and Hussein al-Jismi don't get a crowd. They get a crowd, And even the upcoming artists who sing in Arabic, they're getting a crowd. So, Brooklyn, I know you have something to say.
I always have something to say. I think there's a major point that people tend to sleep on here, which is something that bothers me, and it's something that I'm always loud about. But you can also be so loud to a point where, am I the only one talking here? And the point is this: don't be diplomatically correct. Again, the essence of this art is creation. Like earlier in the discussion, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said that hip hop itself is transforms all the time, right? So if you're in here just being a mediocre and you're saying yes to anything that is being passed on you just to get somewhere, that's not helping, right? If you see something wrong in the industry, say it, talk about it, bring it up, let people know what is your problem. You have an issue, right? What is it? Let me know. Maybe I have a solution. Maybe Lobito does. Maybe Elia, anybody that is not even relevant in the industry has a solution for it, right? But I feel like everybody just chooses to be, taking that idea of, let me just be in my lane. Let me focus on what I do and get away with it, and eventually it will pop off. No, it don't work like that.
And Albert, what do you think about, because Brooklyn had a lot of important points there, and I for one kind of agree. And
Yeah,
I
I
wasn't
agree
that
as
kind of
well.
person before, because everyone says, Big House is nice, nice, nice. But sometimes I think it's nice to say really the truth, and
Right.
even if it's ugly.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I'm Mr. Diplomatic. I'm super diplomatic only because of I'm new here, so the people that's been here for 14, 15 years, I really wasn't around during that time, but I can attest for the last 4 years, right? So since I've been here, I personally have seen the scene grow. Like I came at a peak where you now have Spotify, you now have Deezer, you now have these entities where before they didn't exist. So where I see my lane is like the opportunity of connecting the dots, right? I call myself a culture shifter, which means I want to change people's beliefs, behaviors, and outcomes. But in order to do that, I got to know what exists to change, So right now, one of the purposes for me actually having, we actually having these panels was to have these discussions and open and honest conversations and see how we can all help to improve the scene. So I agree with Brooklyn based on the experiences of all the other panelists, but I wasn't here to attest to that.
Elia?
The biggest issue was biggest issue with artists here. 90% of the artists, if you ask them, "What's your goal?" I want to perform abroad. I want to play in UK. I want to tour in Europe. Like this is their first goal. Even they didn't release anything. So this is wrong. Every artist around the world, they started by creating a following in their own country or their own city, and then they boomed abroad. But here, it's the other way around, which is, I think it's very wrong to have a thought that I'm gonna release a music that would cater the UK market, but I'm in Dubai. You know what I mean? And you expect also the corporate and the sponsors to sponsor your music while they want to sponsor it for the local, community. So answering your question, no, I don't think anybody is relevant to the market.
Yeah.
Can I? You want to
Yeah, I want to go back to Lobito and
Go
say,
ahead.
but yeah, and then I'll get you onto it.
No problem.
It's really interesting what Elia said. I don't know. I want to provoke you a little bit here. It seems to me, and again, we all can duke it out. Do you agree with what he said? Do you really you can make it out of here? There was a question recently put out by Mssawir. I interviewed him. One of the best. He won the X Factor Arabia. He said, "Can an English performing artist make it out in the region singing English?" In the region. I'm not talking about people like Majid Jordan, who's signed to Drake right now. I'm talking about, people in the region here. So again, just to touch on Elia's point, do you think that's possible?
No one's getting out of here. No, I'm just joking.
No one.
I think there's a crab in a bucket mentality. That's one thing that needs to be addressed because there's a lot of people. It's such a small community, but there's a lot of people who are trying to tear other people down for different reasons. So it's like it's so small, and yet there's a lot of politics. And I think that if you have the talent, then it's really about how good you can be at moving laterally or in business. So for me, I try to create my own kind of financial platforms and other platforms where I could promote myself here because it just didn't exist. And I think a lot of artists are maybe waiting for something to happen to them instead of taking action. So I agree with what Mazzy said in a previous talk, that their career should be like a freight train, that they just move everything forward and then people will catch up. But ultimately, if you don't have the talent, you're not going to make it.
Just speaking upon that, I think nothing beats hard work. I think from my experience, a lot of people want things, but they don't want to put the work in. And that's what drives anybody to be successful, no matter if you're a region or out this region. The more work you put in, the more successful you be. It's inevitable. It's just hard work.
Brooklyn, keep that thought. Saeed, with what Albert just said right now, again, there's a lot of panels that happen in the UAE, all around the world. We want to come out with something. About 2 months ago, there was a panel discussing, is the UAE having a sound? And a lot of people of you here said that the diversity is the sound because of the vibe. Again, going to you, do you think that is possible for someone to make it out of here with everything that we have, with the ecosystem that we have, if the ecosystem musically exists?
I mean, there's a couple of things to unpack here. I mean, going back to first of all what you said. I was saying about how the scene here. There's some players in this scene that shouldn't be in the scene, but just because it is, like corporations and in like like branding and all that stuff.
That's part of being diplomatically correct,
Yeah,
right?
but I'm just saying the thing is because of that, that's messing up the creativity. There's artists that are making music for that soft drink deal. There's artists that are thinking success is getting a branding deal. It's not so you're seeing this kind of weird kind of commercial commercial music made like jingle music that I kind of see. You know what I mean? That's coming from here. And I think because people, because the career success, is getting that, that commercial deal or whatever. So that's the first part. Second part also as well, I just kind of think, I disagree with Elia a little bit in the sense that, you have to kind of, you kind of have to go local success and then go global. I mean, that idea was okay maybe 10 years ago. I mean, internet has killed that. I mean, there's no such thing as geography anymore. No such thing as even genre anymore. So this idea, so this kind of, I find that's a bit of a static thing. I mean, like, it's like what Mazi did, which I find really interesting. If you go into Greece, you pop in Greece, go to Greece. You know what I mean? Go work it, collaborate with the local artist. So like, this is the best time for you to increase your geographic, imprint. You know what I mean? And going back and also as well, that's the best way to do it because you're right. There is a crab bucket mentality. Frankly, it's like bald people fighting over a comb. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, like what? It's like, what? I mean, why are you even doing this? It's like it's so beneath what this scene should be about.
Yeah, look, I'm loving the passion of this. Just quickly, Brooklyn, before you say something. Let's talk from an artist also perspective, right? If you look at a guy like, again, Freak, right? Freak is a Somali artist based here. He's doing music that is relevant. He's performing in Arabic rap. A lot of people will vibe to it. He was performing in Sharjah where a lot of people didn't know what the rap is and hip-hop is, and he was singing about karak, and people were like, wow, okay, like that. So again, do we have enough people who are being relevant? Look at Saudi Arabia, again, one of the most conservative countries in the world. YouTube is popping. These rappers right now are becoming influencers. They're getting paid to actually talk about a product, financially gain. They would drop a music video in a matter of 4 or 5 days, 300, 400,000 views. No one is getting these numbers here. So again, Brooklyn, take it.
So I actually have 3 points. First, what he said, again, when we talk about the industry, we always forget that any industry in the world, whether it has a collective society or not, again, it's a reflection of the current situations that are happening in the city or in the area that you're in.
So define Dubai, for example.
Yes, so Dubai is very diverse, right? So many nationalities, so many stereotypes, so many everything, right? So there is no way you can have a collective society that agrees on something or drives the industry towards one lane, all right? Number two, coming back to Saeed, I disagree with you about there is no such thing as genre right now. No, there is. It's just that, again, because there's so many lanes, it's just been thrown everywhere. If there's no genre, then Lobito wouldn't be playing hip-hop only in his sets. I wouldn't be playing what I'm supposed to be playing in clubs. I wouldn't be in turntablist. Everyone would have played the same music. But that's what makes you different. You play or you sing in a different manner than another person. And when I said in the beginning, politically correct or diplomatically correct, is that you following the same trends that your peer is doing. You're being politically correct. You're just in a state where, hey, you know, he's singing this way, using that sound of a beat. Let me get on it and maybe I could do it better. That hurts. That hurts the industry. It doesn't help it. You're just another person that is trying to get on his position, take it away from him, so you get the cake. Again, coming back to what Lobito said, everyone is fighting for the same thing when there's so many things to be fighting for other than that one thing.
It's interesting. Berto, you want to add to that?
I just think it's that level of authenticity. Like, you don't have to be a specific genre anymore. You can be just authentic to who you are, and you could cross genres. So I think that's what's missing in the scene in general, is just that lack of authenticity, just piggybacking off of both of these points. Once you have that level of authenticity, sky's the limit, because you can never stop being yourself. So as long as you're pushing in that direction and the focus is in that direction, then I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, just to add to that, that's amazing. That's a very good point. The problem is the industry seems to be pushing us to be not ourselves in order to be suiting there. But
I think that's what has to stop. You know, because once everybody is authentic to themselves, right, then the brands will have to go to the people who everybody is buying into. You can only buy. It's two things that make somebody a celebrity or a superstar. People either have to want to be who you are or believe your story. So once those two exist, then you can buy into a audience engagement. Then you'll start developing fans, because people will buy into who you are or they want to be you. That's the only two ways. So,
got you. Elia, do you think that some people over here in the UAE hold the wrong position? Meaning, like with big companies, right? Do you think these people are really they deserve to? Again, we're not going to name anyone, but I'm just saying, I'm coming in here. Yeah. No, seriously, I'm coming here. I'm like Albert. I came here 4 years ago. There's a lot of big potential here. We made it from Saudi Arabia, one of the most conservative countries in Saudi Arabia. We made it. And I'm looking at here. There's a lot of amazing things. Again, this is not a negative talk. It's more like there's a lot of incredible potential, and I hate that word, but there's a lot of things. So again, do you think the people who actually hold the position to make things happen, are they wrong?
So basically, when I was saying 10 years ago the scene was booming, it was because of companies that had CEOs and marketing managers that understands the music and understand the culture of art and the Middle East and everything. Now, it has nothing to do with it. Why? Because corporate companies, they just want to make money now. We're in an era when they want to make money. Therefore, whoever is on the position, they're not connected to the scene, they're not connected to the artist. They just go search Google, whatever, on the top, okay, let's work with this artist. I don't think they would ever accomplish anything. Even all the brands that I'm seeing the past 3 years that collaborated with local artists, where's the content? Where's the music? Where's anything? It's just a phase of 1 week of promotion, and then that's it. The artist did not made a few bucks.
Yeah, interesting.
So what? You know? So 10 years ago, if you get associated with Coca-Cola, for example, oh my God, you made the bucks. You traveled, you toured, you did many things. Just an example, and we're naming brands, but anyways. So now you get associated even with labels. Now, if you get signed to a regional label, where would they get you? Nowhere. They would be like, well, we need to target the region. But that's not my goal, you know, as an artist. So.
Lobito, what do you think about that?
So I want to say something which is culturally disruptive, which is what I said that I try and do. I think everyone's a little bit industry obsessed. I think as an artist, you can, obviously, we want to make money. We all want to succeed in life. Now, you know, you could do your music as a side thing, you know, and then you have your full-time job, which so many of the artists that I know do. They act like they're doing it full-time, but they're not. So I think there's two points. There's the art and there's the business. You can be a great artist and you can be a terrible businessman. You can be a great businessman and you can be a mediocre artist and still have success. And this applies globally, but it's just here, I think everyone's so obsessed and insecure with trying to make it internationally or whatever, that sometimes it doesn't leave room to breathe, to be who you really are, and that authenticity of who you are doesn't really come through. So it's like you're desperate to get the brand affiliation. Great, you got it. You did sorry to say, a McDonald's spicy challenge. Cool. Ooh. Okay, you did that. That's great. But what's next?
That's true. Wow, you sparked a lot of things right here, man. Saeed, I'll ask you this question. Again, that's my personal opinion. I believe that the second, because I work a lot also with one of the biggest, Arab TV channels over here, NBC, right? NBC is the biggest over here in the region. When they don't have a tap inside, like, it's not about a tap, it's that there's nothing disruptive, like you said. How are we going to close that gap, man? And I think this is it, personally. All these big TV shows that are happening right now, I know the producers of these shows, and they said, listen, we can't cover it. It's like mediocre. We can't cover the
Scene?
Sorry?
Cover what? Like,
Cover, for example, an album launched by an artist or something. They don't care. What is it? Unless it's a Saudi female rapping, maybe. It has to be really crazy out there for it to be disruptive. But again, all these TV shows, whatever it is, like the big ones, would go in all these big-time artists and find out what they're doing. None of it's happening. They don't care. And it's not their fault that they don't care, okay? Maybe because we're not doing music that is relevant or disruptive. So because you are the national, and you are really arts and culture, and you are associated with these guys, in your opinion, how do we close that gap between that? And should the gap be closed anyway?
I mean, look, it's a tough question. And without seeing, yeah.
There's a lot of breath taken there.
Yeah, it's a big sigh, and it's true because, I don't. As a music journalist, okay, I'm a music journalist covering the regional scene and the local scene, okay. So just because that's my job, and if you're a regional artist, I don't owe you. I don't have to, you have to have a story to tell. There's a lot of assumption that I am this, and I'm an artist here in the region. You have to talk to me. I live in Abu Dhabi. So, there's this mentality that I spent 3 years kind of breaking down. I don't owe you anything. It's a collaboration. So the tag of the paper is Middle East Explained. Does your art have anything to say about you? Does your art have anything to say about what's happening in the region? If it is, I don't care if we sell 10 records. I don't care. For example, remember that brother, that rapper, remember Black, it has that weird name.
Black B?
Black B.
Black B is a rapper from Saudi. He raps to aliens.
Yeah, and he released a record. He released a record and it's talking about, youth depression. Talking about the Saudi experience of depression. Challenges. I'm interested in that. I don't care how many streams he got. For me, that's the story. And I reached out to you, give me his number. He didn't know who I was. I'm like, doesn't matter. Like, bro, yeah, what you're saying is important, and I want to record that. And that's authentic. He didn't care about selling. What he's saying is interesting. So for me, these are the things that are interesting. And this is what I guess this is what I'm saying with the MBCs, whatever. Do you have a story to say?
Yes.
If you do, 9 times out of 10, we'll come. We'll do something about it.
Brooklyn.
Again, I think everything we've been covering so far relates to something called the domino effect, all right? So one thing falls, everything falls. There's no way you'll be able to stop, the sequence of things following, So anyway, but my point is this. In anywhere in the world, the way things are being subjected to people back in the day was word of mouth. So one person hears about something, he goes, he tells his folks. And then the second thing was publishing. Right? Paper, newspapers. Now, forget about the internet for a little bit, right? Let's discuss publishing, and again, I'm not taking a direct hit. I'm more concerned about magazines, okay? I have so much to say, but I just want to know, this boils down to the topic E was talking about, where he said, when you asked him, what's going on with the positions? I'll tell you what's going on with the positions. It's the worst people are handling the big positions in corporations like that, in publishing, in TV, that are not even relevant to the scene, that don't understand what the scene is. All they care about is, hey, how can we make streams, or how can we make people get interested in something? He doesn't care about the scene. He doesn't care about the rappers, neither. And the magazines as well. Do you think they care about what Freak has done in Sharjah? You know why they don't care? Because Freak never paid for it.
Bam.
To advertise.
yeah.
Can I just have one more point. The other thing is, like, with somebody like Saeed, right? Saeed is from what I understand, is you're an editor that handles music, right? Now, you're the perfect example of positioning. Why? Because you have a relevant person in a relevant position. But with other things, you have so many, like, irrelevant people not understanding what's going on. Like you said, every time there's an award or there is something major going on, this same person not knowing anything, hey, man, my boss, asked me to come up with this list for this show, so what am I supposed to do? You know what, let's just Google top artist in the UAE, top DJs in the UAE. And again, we can go about this for the next 15 hours.
100%. What you said is truly remarkable. And again, I just want to add to that. I've had someone tell me that these people that are in this position, first of all, they don't get paid well, so they don't really care. So that's one. That's one option just out there. Another thing that I'm really vocal about, and again, this is going to strike a chord, is when Saeed writes an article about somebody, I don't see these people sharing it as much. Business-wise, it's important to share.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they're going to look how many times this article's been shared. So if it's shared 1,000 times, oh yeah. If it's shared 3 times, you're not bragging about it. Right. Then they're going to say, so it's a problem. So it's a call out to all the artists out there, share it. Like, there's a lot of amazing initiatives happen. Share, the hell out of it. Just keep sharing it. And Albert, I don't know if you want to add to that, but I think that was my point. Because we have people like Saeed and many others who are in perfect position, great people to rep us. But again, when they talk about us, we don't really brag about it.
I agree. I think that a lot of artists don't understand the importance of media in general. Like, they think it's something that is supposed to happen. Everybody doesn't have a story. Like, I have the pleasure of managing MKO. He appreciates it. He shares it. He does everything he needs to do in order to kind of see, number one, that story advance, because he knows if that story advances, his career advances. So you got to have artists that's business savvy. I don't think a lot of artists have that. I think a lot of artists just, okay, I got published here. And a lot of artists don't even understand the importance of big stream media. They kind of is stuck on social media. They stop right there. And if it's not on social media, if I'm not featured on, let's say, World Star Hip Hop social media's page, then they don't, it kind of ticks a box that they don't understand. So
that's amazing. Elia has inspired me to. You want to say something, Saeed? Sorry. Yeah.
Just in terms of just the differentiation between, the publications. I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying, Brooklyn, in terms of magazines. The thing is, as a newspaper, I think, I have more freedom, to write about, the things that I find interesting. Because as a newspaper, I'm not first driven by how many hits it gets, how many pages it gets, all that type. While that stuff is always important, it's not part of my KPIs. I don't go to sleep thinking I need 10,000 hits today, or I won't buy shoes. So it's not, so for me, what I'm trying to do is, first of all, trying to tell a story of the artistic scene, what's happening here. I'm putting things on record. So that way, somebody years from now can say, is there something happening in the UAE? Yes, there is. So
documenting it.
Yes, So I'm almost like a historian, because in a way, the scene is so young. So for me, what I'm doing, I'm just documenting what's happening. So for me, that's more important than, the scene. And because I'm not kind of pushed, I'm not kind of dictated a lot by hits and stuff, it allows me to speak to the black bees and and to speak to people that perhaps may not have a platform. Magazines, on the other hand, that's a purely commercial deal. A lot of magazines, it's all about the hits, and it's not, and they hire people who can get you the hits. They don't hire people based on, do you like culture? No. Like, they hire this person, can you get us 50,000 hits? So we have to also understand that this is their prerogative. So for them, so magazines, because, they open and close, like that. We're still here.
Got it. Elia,
I'll just add one little thing. So basically with Freak, how we've been doing it for the past year is we created a business model for how we promote what we get as articles and press, and it has been going perfect so far. We created a group of people from his surrounding, from my surrounding, from et cetera, and whenever we shoot something, it goes to 100 shares or on Instagram or something like that. But we had, it took us time to create this. It wasn't like in a day or something like that. So you're right. This model, it works, but it needs to.
Okay, something that Albert said in terms of, do you think that artists need to be having representation as managers in this music industry? And I know you manage, so it's, I'm going to go through all of them. I'm sure what your answer is definite, but why? Especially at this day and age right now where you can manage yourself. I remember hitting up an artist who I will not name right now about 10 years ago, and he told me, reach out to my manager, and that was him. Seriously, I would not name the artist now, but that was him. He was a big-time artist. So, what do you think?
There's an issue with artists in this region is that they have a very bad image about managers because they watch MTV, they watch I don't know what, and they followed their idols being scammed by their managers in the 90s or whatever. When you're an artist and you want to follow your dreams and you want to create your music, obviously you want to be an entrepreneur as well. How can you focus on creating your music while you need to do invoices, you need to create your press kit, you need to do the bookings, you need to do the visas, et cetera, and goes on and on. As a manager, it's my duty to remove all the paperwork from the artist. And definitely, if you think your music is going to reach somewhere at any point in your life, a manager has to be there. And that manager in this region, it shouldn't be someone that you just met. There should be a connection. Like me and Freak, like when I used to be in Abu Dhabi before he started music, we were talking about music. This is how we established our relationship for the past 5 years. A lot of artists will be like, oh, so not all managers can get you somewhere. If they don't believe in your art, they cannot work with you, and same and vice versa. If you don't believe in your manager, he's not gonna be motivated to actually work for your art. So definitely you need a manager, like any industry. You need a manager to shift your art and your product in the market.
And just to add to that, as an artist, you need a career to manage in order to have a manager. If you don't have a career to manage, if you just want to say you have a manager, this is not the right game. A lot of people, like you said before, it was a mainstream artist who said, reach out to my manager, and it was him. And it was like, okay, you need to have a manager. The manager has to make money too at the end of the day. So if you're not making enough money to support yourself off of your goals, then how can you afford to have a manager? So it works all around.
Lobito, when it comes to booking artists, international artists in Dubai, and I really wish Dan Greenpeace was with us. I wanted to ask him that question. Do you think a lot of these bookings are really made to improve the industry? By that I mean, and I see Brooklyn already shaking, by that I mean, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I see a lot of artists coming in here, going to the desert, feeding a monkey, and then going back. And then that's it. We need to, I don't know, that needs to kind of change. They need to know what we are talking about. We are not only that. We're not only the tallest building in the world. We're not only, desert. But again, when I say that, I mean, booking-wise, do you think some stuff are happening to improve that? I'll get to you, Albert.
Yeah, so just to really drill into that. So obviously, most of the decisions are just made commercially. That's obvious, right? So they're just doing it because they think they're going to make money. A lot of the time, they have no interest or knowledge in the culture. They're booking acts that they think are just going to get the most number of people through the door. And this is, speaking as someone who I really, I've managed to secure my financial revenue streams in everything that I've done, but it took a lot of hard work to do that. But I've also, always had the primary goal of doing things deliberately for the culture. So, and to add some kind of cultural benefit in what I was doing. So I've run events at break even or even at a loss to bring certain artists like Lord Finesse, like all these people, just to make that happen and actually to expose those people and to create potential connections for people, for myself, obviously, and for other people who were there or in the network, and to benefit. So I think you're always going to have that. I think you in any country, you've got the commercial side. Somebody sees a way to make money, they're going to do it, right? You know, we live in a capitalist society. So
Yeah, no, 100%. I'll get into you, Albert, 1 second. When you got Lord Finesse, though, not a lot of the hip-hop heads showed up. I remember, I was there.
crabs in a bucket, bro.
So see, that's what I'm saying. So again, all you guys were talking about that, collaboration. You were talking about collaboration. You're talking about support. Because the city is small.
But also, I would say, in defense, it's not just they didn't show up necessarily for a negative reason. A lot of them didn't show up because they don't even know who he is.
They didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Right, who he is. Albert?
Right. Well, one of the things, just piggybacking off the very first question that you asked, one of the things that we're trying to do with Straight Up Entertainment is kind of bridge that gap. We want to bring people over who want to showcase what the Emirates has to offer. So one of the purposes is to drive music tourism. When you drive music tourism, you're showcasing not only yourself as an artist from abroad, but also the local talent. So what we want to do is kind of have them over here for 7 to 10 days maybe, and then have them showcasing in certain environments in the UAE, as well as promoting some of the local some of the local artists. So right now we're working on a model that kind of supports the scene, both internationally and locally.
Okay, we have like 10, 15 minutes. I want to, again, obviously the Emirates Music Summit, this is discussing the music industry forward. I wanted to somehow address the things that bother, I have here 5 incredible souls, and I think we can definitely make an impact, again. But again, I'm sick and tired of hearing the same kind of, thing. It's going to work. Oh, it's happening. It's a small city. Let's believe. How do we, again, Elia, and again, this goes to all of you, in each of your own kind of what you're doing as DJs, as writers, as culture shifters, as managers, how do we, Zubda, the butter, how do we break that? Khalas, we're sick and tired of, okay, 10 years from now it's going to be great. Oh, it's amazing. It's moving forward. Well, I don't know, it's not moving forward when you have people coming in here not knowing anything about whatever it is the artist. Again, I'll tell you a quick story, really quick. I was doing Soul DXB, and the drummer of HER, we're like chilling, talking. And then he met Ryan Baydoun, who's a producer, and Shaybani, who was a singer-songwriter. And the first question he asked him, he saw them sound checking. First question he asked him, drummer for HER, when did you guys fly in? I swear to God, their faces were like, what do you mean we live here? You live here? You here? This was his. Yeah. He's an amazing, incredible drummer. So again, see,
It's audience development. Like people don't know what they don't know, right? So you have to develop that audience. I don't think that there hasn't been a lot of artists to develop that audience to the extent that Freak has. When you Google, rappers from Dubai, Freak is one of the first names that come up now. And once you start developing that audience, then I think you can those conversations stop happening because they exist.
Okay, so that's one. Elia, what can we do to push it forward?
Brings us to my point where you need to create a following in your own hometown before going abroad. I just want to say one quick point before answering your question. Which you're gonna like this, because I did a rant I think a week ago, and we were talking about the Time Out Awards and the What's On Awards, and I'm naming, I don't care anymore. For the past 5 years, I'm gonna be very honest, most of the artists that I worked with, I basically bought their awards, and this should stop basically. Yeah.
Shots
fired. People need to hear this because now we're in a point.
Is that a fact, Elia?
It is a fact.
It is 100% confirmed.
No, it is a
wow.
fact.
100% confirmed. And I can name every single DJ that took this
the
award for the
invoices,
last 5 years.
Okay. In what way, not to be negative too much about it, in what way does this disrupt the music industry forward?
This is my point that I want to make, that the list of artists that has been promoted for the past 5 years is the same list over and over again, just changing 1 or 2 names, reaching to a point where artists stop releasing music and they're still on the list. not including the amazing talents that are releasing the past, in 2019, Moflo, Freak, Shibani, the list goes on and on. Like, these are the artists that should be on the list, right? So, and for me, this is one of the things that the industry is facing now, that a lot of artists are taking, a lot of bad artists and cover artists that are taking from the success of amazing, talented artists. This is one of the things, is that artists should stop promoting these awards, like yesterday. And stop, I know it's a promotional thing, but what they gain from you way more than what you gain from them. 20 artists in a best local artist, only 2 original artists, that's shame, to be honest. That's disgusting, basically.
I hear you. Lobito, what do you think about that? Because I know you've also been, you've been a member of these awards. But again, does having something like this disrupt the music industry forward?
I've never been a member. I won.
Not a member, sorry. One of the winners. Yeah, not a member. We want you to be a member.
You mean one of the nominees?
One of the nominees. And winner as well, right? Yeah.
So I mean, I would have to co-sign and say that there's definitely financial transactions that take place. There has definitely been corruption. I think maybe occasionally I have been used to offset that, because I've never paid $1 and I won some awards. So I would say maybe I mean, I called them out. So I called these awards out years and years ago. And for a certain period, I was very vocal on social media, and I was well known for that. And then I just got bored with doing that.
My question is, do you think this? Do you think something like that will stop the music industry moving forward, or is not?
No, I think this is why the energy in the room on the panel right now. It's important to call these things out, because it is a fact. They will refute it, but this has happened. There's plenty of people who can attest to it.
Plenty of the winners too who can attest to it. After winning the award, they will say bluntly.
Right, yeah. And so, for me, I never cared about awards anyway as a principle. It doesn't matter if they're legal or illegal or corrupt or non-corrupt. For me, like, awards are just PR, but they're never really a true representation of necessarily what's going on. There's, it's all subjective, and especially, I think, something that hasn't been addressed is the transient nature of the city. So as an artist, you potentially trying to create a new crowd every 2 years. Yes. You've got a new editor, maybe even every 6 months in some cases. And so you've got, it's impossible to maintain steady relationships.
It's amazing you say that, because I heard this, Saeed, more than one time. More than one time. Every time it's a transient city. Lobito just touched on it. Every 3-4 years, I have artists telling me, man, I have to talk to new fans every 3-4 years. It gets really hard. Is that an excuse, or is that a fact?
No, look, it's a fact, and this is why I just kind of feel that we should transcend. I mean, like, this idea of that's why I kind of feel it's very difficult to build this idea, of a local fan base. I just kind of feel it doesn't work. Because, I mean, the whole point of having, a homegrown scene, that depends on the actual base of the place being stable. You're trying to plant. It's basically trying to plant something on something that's wobbly. So it just there's no stability there. So this idea that we have, like in the West or other societies, of building, a homegrown scene, we have to change this idea. Maybe regionally, I think perhaps even regionally could be better. A more viable idea, building a regional fan base. But thinking about trying to build a fan base, locally, I just think that it's a lot more difficult. And now with online, with online and technology, maybe I think artists here should think bigger. Instead of going locally, think regionally now. And then but trying to just pin it first in the UAE, it's tough.
Albert?
I agree and I disagree at the same time. I just think that you need all hands on deck. I think that you need the private, semi-government, and government entities on board to kind of usher in this audience development. If you get those parties involved, then I think that you can develop a home scene, even with the bass and the transient. I look at the transient thing as a good thing. If I'm making good music and you hear my music and you become a fan, then you take that to where you're from. So it just all depends on you.
Brooklyn?
I think it all boils down again to a very valid point that he mentioned in the beginning. He said when he sat down with Freak, he sat down and he had a business model, right? So in this business model, not caring about magazines was part of it. Not caring about social media, bots, buying followers was part of it. Not caring about what other publications might come in and, do their Ronaldinho move on you and manipulate the way the
Or
scene is.
say,
And it doesn't matter. Again, all of these corporations, they built and they've been established because of the importance that people give them, right? So as a collective, if right now we shake hands on, hey, we are not going to be supporting anybody who's unnecessary and has nothing to do with the scene, do you think they're going to be able to survive after 3 years? They'll shut down, just like so many clubs opened in Dubai and shut down. Why? Because they're catering towards the same thing that the two blocks away the club is doing. You're not doing anything different. That's one. Two, what I wanted to say is that before we talk about audience, we need to know how the audience is being divided. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Again, 90% of the audience that we're talking about are clubbers. Okay? You want to see what clubs in Dubai. Again, I'm talking from my experience. I've been here for 12 years. I've DJed in every single club you could think of. What clubs are doing is the following. They are stereotyping the meaning of clubbing in Dubai. People don't go out in Dubai to a club to have fun. People go out to the club to show off with their friends' table, with their cars, with yada, 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 and so forth. All right? Back in the day, when we first, and again, I think Lobito can co-sign this, people genuinely used to go out to have fun. People would gather their friends and don't even think about a table and go in and, hey, you know what, we're just going to stand by the bar. If the DJ is good, we're dancing. It's not about, right now, everything about which table like which position is it in the club? Is it behind the DJ booth? Is it under the artist? Is it next to, it's all a hype. It's all a game. So, again, this brings us to how are we dividing our audience? Are the audience even educated enough? Again, he's bringing some, Lord Finesse, a bigger name in hip hop can be bigger than that, right? And yet, people still don't know him. And, but when an OG name comes out, like, I don't know, Snoop Dogg is gonna be in X Club. Oh my God, Snoop Dogg is coming. I'm gonna go see him. But do you know what Snoop Dogg did?
Yeah, exactly.
Name two songs that Snoop Dogg did.
100%. I was just talking about this DJ Premier when he came here. It was the same thing. Like people were saying, who was DJ Premier and stuff like that. Anyway, just to close it off with you guys, I'm going to go each and every one to you guys. And the question is this: in your lane, as Elia Mssawir, for example, what can you do right now to move the music industry forward? And it goes to all of you guys. So think about what you can do now. If you're given the freedom to do and change things, as Elia Mssawir, what would you do?
Filter the artist list in the country. Basically, keep the bedroom artists in their bedroom and work with the talented ones and ones that are passionate about art, music, and they want to do it for a living, basically.
But allow me just to challenge each and every one of you guys. When you say filter, but Shreya, it's unfair. What if, I know a lot of these bedroom producers and singers, but haram, they have no...
I'll give you an example.
Give me an example.
Like so whenever people know that I'm managing Freak or other artists, they come to me, it's like, do you want to manage me? And I'll be like, I would be interested. What kind of music you released? I still did not release anything. Okay, so, but I can, I'll send you this track that I did it on my phone. You know what I mean?
So when you're saying filter the artists, this is mainly it.
Yeah.
Lobito.
I'm kind of about, I think a lot of times in panel talks, there's a lot of talk and less action. I'm trying to do what I can generally. Obviously, like any individual on this panel, I'm trying to make my money. I'm trying to sustain myself as an artist. But at the same time, I'm bringing back platforms such as street nights. So that's a way for me to give an opportunity for artists and other people to showcase. I'm currently working with Expo in a capacity that would allow me to provide, again, sustainable income for people. and I'm setting up the Turntable DJ Academy, which for me is a way to bring another level of education to a new generation in order to inspire. Obviously, there is a financial side, but I'm going to do a cultural side, which is just to try and bring DJs together generally, which doesn't have any financial implication. And I think it's important to balance those things. Like I said, I tried to make the point earlier of, art, business, culture and business. You can make everything work together, but always be sure that, are you able to contribute? Are you only looking out for yourself? Are you only feeding your own ego, or are you trying to do something for others as well?
Yeah, I love that. Keep doing what you're doing, man, because definitely education is truly important. Saeed, for you, as the arts and culture, what can you do to improve or push the music industry forward?
Listen more. I mean, I try to. For me as a journalist, I mean, I have to always continue and maintain keeping my ear on the ground. Because on one hand, part of my job is kind of dealing with events that I have to deal with just due to the profile, of the event and, and what it means for the city, Abu Dhabi particularly. So on one hand, there's some events that I cannot not write about, but at the same time, I'm trying. I'm trying. It's a balance. I'm trying to say, for every big article, every big high-profile article, I'm trying to offset that. So it's like carbon tax, I'm trying to offset by doing something that's important for the region. So it's always about me listening more, going out there, spending time with people like yourself, Lobito, and just sitting down there and just listening, and asking questions and learning. And because I don't know everything. I'm only as good, as what people tell me. So I mean, the day that I go to a newsroom meeting and I say there's no local or regional artists to talk about, that means I should just resign, because that means I'm not doing my job. So I have to kind of always continue, maintaining and listening.
Love that. Brooklyn, in your scope of work, what can you do personally to push the music industry forward?
Well, that's the reason why I started this Brooklyn's Day Out project, is to kind of like get in touch with these artists. Some of these artists are already my friends, and some of them I just know them because they're peers of the industry. But the reason why I called it a day out is because I literally get to spend a day with you. So I could, tackle in your personality, see what's your issues with the industry. And trust me, I did the recipe, the first episode. There's so much more coming in, and hopefully before Ramadan kicks in, I'll have.
Give us a scoop, at least.
I'll have 5 episodes in the clip, if you want to say. And some of these artists are still up and coming. They're not yet established. And what I've noticed is that, at least with the people that I approach that I want to be on the show, everybody has an issue. Everybody has something to say. And when you have this as an alarming point, then something needs to change. Just like you yourself as well, I give you so much credit for getting in touch with, the Arabic side of hip hop in this region, like with the Buckle Up or whatever you're doing. It's the same aspect. And I'm 100% sure I will do whatever you want if behind cameras, when you're not recording, they don't complain to you.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of complaining, for sure. 100%. 100%. That should be a show about that.
Yeah, it'll be a top seller for sure. For me, I call myself a culture shifter for a reason, and my goal is to change people's beliefs, behaviors, and outcomes. As everyone on this panel knows, I've tried to foster collaboration since I've got here. Let's meet up, let's do this, let's do that. That has to change. We do have to collaborate. So in order to do that, I think that we have to have that change. But also, currently I'm working with Ali and Sarah from Straight Up Entertainment to kind of create a new way of thinking. So we're talking about, like I said before, with the international artists coming over here and highlighting the things to do in the UAE and people to hear from in the UAE that has that international following. So when you go to most of these clubs, you don't really see local artists opening up for a big act that you would see anywhere else in the world. You have the local artists opening up for the big act, which gets them on the radar. So we need to kind of change like the model. And yeah, you do have to have, like just going back on what you were saying earlier, you do have to have a copy and paste formula, but that's across any industry. It's just a matter of where you copy and paste from. So I think that if you take the top and you look at the top and what the top is doing, how do you use the culture in your region to kind of change that behavior.
Wow. Eddie, you want to say something?
I just want to fix a small point. That,
Go ahead.
So basically, education is key. And when we launched the Ascent series of talks, we didn't want to just hear the stories of the people that we hosted. We wanted the artists that attended these panels to understand how to fix their issues and to tackle, problems that they're facing in terms of developing their name and their music. So yeah, educate yourself in the music industry before going into that.
100%. I think that this can go on for another hour at least. I just want to add a little bit from my end. Everything you guys said, respect to that. That's amazing. I also think that we need to support initiatives like, for example, obviously we got Soul DXB doing incredible stuff. The Harmony guys are doing amazing things. Last Seen Live, there's this initiative called Last Seen Live where I think I'm coming from the perspective of if you put any local or artist right now on a flyer and say he or she is performing at this place, how many people can they get? The reason why I say that is Aziz Maraka, who's a Jordanian artist, when he's performing, this guy gets you 3,000-4,000. So for any booking, the guys, Sido Simba and Maz Mars just flew in from Sudan just to come in here, and they got their fans as well to perform. And shout out to the people who got them in. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of that as well, business-wise. How much is this guy going to give us? How many tickets is this artist going to give us? Because I don't see none of the artists over here actually getting them. And that is another kind of panel whose job is to bring the people. Is it the artist? Is it the venue? And I think this is important. So I don't know if do we have time to add to 2 more minutes?
I think I saw someone raise their hand earlier
Okay.
with a question or something.
Can we actually open questions, or how does that go? Because I know it's the last panel, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's let's leave that up to Nikon because they...
Okay, yeah, because... Okay, but first of all, give them a big round of applause. Amazing panels. Taib, let me just say this. If there's anything you'd like to say at the end, I'll give you 30 seconds each and go on. Say whatever you want. We'll start with Albert. Let's go.
Number one, I just want to thank everybody for supporting this initiative. But number two, please be advised that this is only the first edition. We will have a real version of the offline version of the Emirates Music Summit. So I just want everybody to tune in for that. And I'll leave my closing remarks to that time.
Again, we need more of these things happening, stuff like this. We need to, I always say this. A lot of times after any summit or any panel, we get off this very positive energy, power to the people, let's go change. And then half an hour later, after we go out for a smoke, I go back home, you go back to your kids, and it's a whole new day, same day type of thing. So my point is basically, yes, it's good to have stuff like this, but please let's really react to it.
Act on it, inshallah. Saeed, any closing remarks?
No, look, it's an absolute pleasure being here. Thank you so much, Alberto, and the Straight Up Entertainment team for inviting me. I'm always looking. I'm always looking for my next story. So I'm always, so just hit me up. I won't get it right all the time, but I do have faith, especially in the region. There's some really interesting stuff happening here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the next few years head for us in the music scene.
DJ Lobito.
Just absolute pleasure to be here. Shout out to all the other panelists. For me, it's just a pleasure to connect with everybody, to get out of my cave.
I know.
from the projects I'm working on. Yeah, into the lights. Just let's work.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's work.
Big up. Elia, can you manage me? No.
First, thank you, Alberto and the whole team for
Sponsored by Big Beard, this segment.
Yeah.
Big up to Big
Being
Beard. Yeah.
being biased. Anyways, thank you for this, and I really hope after Emirates Music Summit, the government or the public sector would be interested more in being involved and knowing what's happening on the ground, rather just sitting in their offices and throwing money that is going nowhere, basically.
Yeah, it seems like we're opening a discussion after discussion. But thank you, guys. Peace and love. Emirates Music Summit, like it says, music, culture, and innovation. Signing off. Peace and love. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. A big round of applause. Let's go.